All right, shalom, shalom, peace. Welcome to another episode of Feed the Lions. It's your brother Iaquar Amath or IQ. Felt as though it's necessary, being that it's getting close to the time of the Passover. We want to make sure that particular ordinances were understood, and even outside of the Passover, just another element of the law of the covenant in regards to circumcision. I know, various camps may have different understandings regarding should a man still be circumcised or not. You have some that, especially within the Christian church, they're completely done with that. They're saying circumcision is irrelevant. We can be part of the uncircumcised. Everything is still good. Just want to bring a little clarity to that and make sure that you get from our perspective of the scriptures where we stand at regarding circumcision and its relevance to the Passover, and just again, let alone the law, the covenant, so forth and so on. So without further ado, man, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Uh, if you would please do your brother that favor. You know what time it is. Wipe your feet, hit that like button. Let's get the video circulating and the lesson understood. Um, and prayerfully, everybody's well this evening. All right. So let's go ahead and get to it, man. Let me share my screen and get to the scriptures, and we're gonna get right into it. S- All right. So let's open up first to Leviticus 10. We're gonna read Leviticus 10, and we're gonna read verse 10 and 11. All right. Verse 10. It says, "And that they may put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh have spoken unto them by the hand of Moses." So this is the element of where the Most High is acknowledging regarding the works of the tabernacles, regarding the works of the body and the congregation, separating and identifying holy, unholy, clean, unclean. Now let me give this disclaimer as well, and you'll get full understanding as as I continue on. This is not a shot at any brother who is not circumcised as of yet. This is not a defamatory um, video to try to make one seem holier than thou, right? This is edification and understanding for our people, and in particular the men, to know where we stand at with Him as it pertains to the law, the covenant, and where we need to attain to. We always are looking to abound. Let me get that. Let me get this other scripture too, and we'll get back over here. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58. We're always looking to abound, right, and be better and grow more as men of the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. So we can never be complacent. We can never sit back and say that we know it all. We figured it out, everything out. We're at the precipice of, or we peaked out with, our servant of the Most High, and I've done my work. No, never enough. Okay. The scripture said that we should always be seeking to abound, meaning to go above what we've already been able to accomplish, right? So even when it comes down to understandings, even when it comes down to, making sure that we're growing even closer to the Most High, marking off checks and balances as men of the Lord, like where do I stand at? Have I accomplished this? Did I do that? Did it? That there should be an agenda of understanding of growth that men should want to seek after. Whether it's growing in your fear of the Most High and the keeping of the commandments, whether it's growing with your desire to learn how to be a better reader, be a better teacher, be a better leader, be a better guide, be a better father, be a better brother, husband. You dig what I'm saying? Like these are all things that we have to be striving for and abounding, because the Lord said, "Look, our work is never in vain in the Lord, so long as it's in the Lord and we're not doing it for self." self-gratification, ego, pride, all of those things can be detrimental in the spirit. The Lord said, if we're doing it in the name of the Lord, and if we're doing it in the Lord, our labors won't be in vain, and He's a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him through faith. Thus saith the Lord in Hebrews 11:6. Okay, so let's get back over here to Leviticus 10 one more time, and we'll pick it up again at Leviticus 10 and verse 10. So what's being established and understood is understanding the importance of, or what the relevancy of the circumcision is. Okay, this is one thing that set us apart, made us different. You know, one more time, Leviticus 10 and 10. It says, "And now you may put a difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh have spoken unto them by the hand of Moses." So, looking at the hand of Moses, looking at generationally, this is what was being passed down, and it began with our forefather Abraham. Genesis 17, beginning of verse 9. It says, "And the Most High said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations." So what are we talking about? We're talking about a covenant that was made with Abraham, and it says it's supposed to be generationally passed down. That not only in the time of Abraham and the days of old, his seed after should continue on in this covenant throughout their generations, throughout our generations. What's this covenant? "This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee." So there wasn't a discontinuation of it. It said that this is supposed to be done between the children of Abraham all the way up through their seed line. All right. It says, "Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you." So this was a marker. This was something that was to be understood as a token of a bond between the Most High and the men of Israel. That's the covenant. Okay. So we're not in the new covenant. We're not even going to go there right now. But this is a covenant that was bound in the flesh, bound by blood, bound with the Most High. Verse 12. "And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed." So even the strangers, even the heathen, even the servants, they had to be under the same bond of covenant via the children of Israel. Okay. Now, verse 13, it says, "He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant." I don't know when everlasting ends. Do you? Is there a particular point where it cuts off? And oh, okay. Everlasting covenant. "And the uncircumcised man child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant." So when there would be a time, and if there was a time that a man refused to get circumcised, or a man neglected to do so, the Lord said that they would be cut off, meaning they would be excommunicated from the nation and not be recognized amongst his people as part of his people. Okay. "And have broken my covenant." So a covenant is an agreement. A covenant is a contract, so to speak. Okay. And when that gets broken, there's penalties that encompass the deal. Ezekiel 44. Let's read verse 7. It says, "In that ye have brought into my sanctuary strangers, uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in flesh." So it's not just a circumcision of heart. So when you're uncircumcised in the heart, that means that you are separated mentally away from the Most High. You're broken the commandments. You're walking in disalignment with the statutes and the ordinances of the Most High. Our minds is being covered, if you will, by those means. Okay, so And I'm sure everybody knows about, the heart being the mind. But if not, let's get a precept on that real quick. Let's go to Sirach. Let me see here. Where's this? Give me 1 second. Let me look at my old trusty word real quick. Pardon me, y'all, real quick. I'm trying to find that precept. Yeah, Sirach 37. There we go. Sirach 37. And we're going to read verse 13. And that reads, and let the counsel of thy own heart stand, for there is no man more faithful unto thee than it. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in a high tower. So when we're reading about the heart, we should understand and know that we're talking about the mind. We ain't talking about the 4-chambered vessel that pumps the blood and regulates the organs and your oxygen levels and heat of your body and all that. No, the heart is the mind, right? And that's what the scriptures acknowledge. Also, let me give one more just to 1 Samuel 1. And was it 1? I might be tripping. Yeah, it is 13. My bad. Verse 13, it says, now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. So what did it say? She spake in her heart, only her lips moved. So what was she speaking? She was speaking, thinking out loud, so to speak, coming from her heart, meaning her mind. And only her lips moved, but her voice wasn't heard. So she was uttering what was on her mind, but Eli was drunk. He didn't hear, right? So the heart is the mind. So getting back over here to Ezekiel, because some people are gonna say, "Oh no, it's the circumcision of the heart." Yes, that's it. No, the Most High is watching and paying attention and understands both. It said, "And in that ye have brought into my sanctuary strangers, uncircumcised in heart and uncircumcised in the flesh, to be in my sanctuary, to pollute it, even my house. When ye offer my bread, the fat and the blood, and they have broken my covenant because of all your abominations. And ye have not kept the charge of mine holy things, but ye have set keepers of my charge and in my sanctuary for yourselves." So this is when the priesthood had gone off, right? And the priests had, defiled the temple. They had, getting back where we verse 9. It says, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, no stranger uncircumcised in heart, nor uncircumcised in flesh shall enter into my sanctuary of any stranger that is among the children of Israel. And the Levites that are gone away from me, see that? The Levites had gone off when Israel went astray, which went astray away from me after their idols. They shall even bear their iniquity. So this is where we're seeing the priesthood had gone off. It wasn't teaching the righteousness of the Most High. They made no difference between the clean and the unclean. There wasn't. They was allowing violations of the Sabbath to be happening. Strangers and the heathen was hanging out, being around the sanctuary. And now we're seeing why the Most High had to bear judgment on the children of Israel and the Levites. Okay. Deuteronomy. Let's get back to the law. Deuteronomy 10, reading verse 16. Now it says, circumcise the foreskin of your heart and be no more stiff-necked. So yes, we do have an understanding as well that the circumcision is of the heart. of the mind. That needs to be done. We have to cleanse ourselves. We have to separate ourselves. We have to take on a holier nature when it comes down to our minds and our mental capacity to receive the law, statutes, commandments, the ordinances, the righteousness of the Most High, the faith of Christ. That's all coming with being circumcised in your heart and in your mind. Okay. It says, and be ye no more stiff-necked, because what? The Most High hates us when we're rebellious. The scriptures say that rebelliousness is as a sin of witchcraft, and a witch is supposed to be put to death. So what side of the fence do you want to be on with the Lord when it comes down to us realizing our transgressions with him? Let's look at the law here. Leviticus 12, and we'll read verse 1 down to 3. And the Most High Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of her separation. For her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. So the ordinance of circumcision was to be carried out on the 8th day after the birth of the mother. She would be bearing her uncleanness, right? And she would be unclean for 40 days total. And so we'll just stop right there. Now, don't worry, we're going to get a complete understanding out here, because I know the Christians are sitting back. Were you circumcised on the 8th day? You ain't following the law then. We'll cover all of that. Okay. Let's get the fundamentals of the law first, the covenant first, understanding that it was everlasting. It never changed. We never were supposed to be falling off from it. Matter of fact, let's give one more. Malachi 3. Where is it? Here we go. Verse 6. For I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So if the Most High says, what I laid down and you picked up, it never changed. For I am Yahweh, I change not. The Most High said he don't change. If it's laid down, then that's just what it is. Does Christ feel the same way? Is he operating the same capacity as his Father? Hebrews 13:8. Yahweh Shai, the same yesterday and today and forever. So there's an element that the Most High acknowledges. He says, I don't change. And my son, he didn't come to change anything. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever for all intents and purposes, right? Isaiah 52 and verse 1. It says, Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Now this is twofold. This is speaking about doctrines and unclean, unrighteous actions amongst Israel. And the beautiful garments is the righteousness of the Most High, the laws and the commandments, but also literally putting on the garments of the Most High, man. We have a beautiful legacy of garments that we have within our nation. You know, you got a wedding garment, you got a garment for mourning, you got a feasting garment. You know, the scriptures speak about those. You know, one time I'm gonna do a lesson just regarding the holy garments, because, you know, me and the other elders always kind of joke around about it. But you know, Israel has lost their way in a sense when it comes down to the garments, right? You know, typically annually now everybody looks to get a holy garment for the Passover, and we show out on the Passover, and it's a beautiful occasion. And the thing is, why don't we encourage that on the regular when it comes down to feast days? I came up in an era where we was girded up in garments on the Sabbath and in the Sabbath classes and the Sabbath services. All of the holy days was you had to be girded, right? In regards to the new moons, when it came down to all of the other feast days, whether it was tabernacles, whether it was first fruits, whether it was Memorial of Simon, Nicanor, so forth and so on, you know, trumpets, dedication, for sure. We was girded up with our beautiful garments, glorifying the Lord. And that's not to say, you know, nowadays the brother can get offensive and say, well, brother, I'm in the law. Look, I got my fringes on. What are you talking about? I don't need to wear a girt. All the garments was for the priest. They wore the robes and everything up. But we'll see as time progresses. Like I said, Lord willing, I'll do a lesson regarding the holy garments of the Most High. And it's not a bad thing to desire to want to have your garments up to speed. I mean, a lot of these young jakes now went around talking about they got their fits on and they swag and all whatever else is going on. Like you can color coordinate, you can do all that in the world, and make sure you got your nice little jeans on, your hat to match the shirts and up. But then when it comes down to getting a girt or a garment or a nice tunic or something like that, for the Lord with some nice bands and a diadem on, like that becomes second fiddle to how you want to look on a daily. So not to get sidetracked, but the Lord said that part of what He wants us to do is learn even more about um, put on the beautiful garments of Jerusalem, the holy city, and for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. So, the only thing that set us apart from being uncircumcised and unclean was keeping of the law. Okay. And we'll continue on in Leviticus, the 7th chapter. Leviticus 7. And let's pick it up in verse 19. And it says, and the flesh that toucheth any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burnt with fire. And as for the flesh, all that be clean shall eat thereof. So, matter of fact, let's get back over here to the elements of the let's see. You want to start up here? Because this essentially is dealing with all of the sacrificial laws for sin and how they were handled. And in particular, the symbolization of the death of Yahweh Shai was based around being a sin offering of the blood of the Lamb for all the children of Israel, right? So even when you're dealing with the ordinances of the Passover in certain, well, not even the Passover. Let's say, for instance, the atonement. It was two lambs. You had one that was the scapegoat that bore the iniquities of the children of Israel that was let loose into the wilderness to carry away the sins of the people. And then you had a righteous sacrifice for the blood, right? So just looking at the ordinances of how we maintained keeping of the Passover, or who could partake and who couldn't. Look at this. Leviticus 7, verse 1. It says, likewise, this is the law of the trespass offering. It is most holy. Most holy. Okay. Let's drop down. Verse 6, it says, every male among the priests shall eat thereof. It shall be eaten in the holy place. It is most holy. As the sin offering is, so is the trespass offering. There is one law for them. The priest that maketh atonement therewith shall have it. And the priest that offereth any man burnt offering, even the priest shall have to himself the skin of the burnt offering which he offered. Let's drop down verse 10. And every meat offering mingled with oil and dry, all the sons of Aaron have, one as much as another. And this is the law of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he shall offer unto Yahweh. If he offer it with thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. Beside the cakes he shall offer for his offering leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offerings. So we're seeing how these things were the ordinances of how the sacrifice was being done. They had to have unleavened cakes created and made and waved for Thanksgiving offerings for the sacrifices. Then you also had leavened bread that was also made as well. Okay. And now let's drop down. I wanted to get right to the point. let's drop down. We'll read verse 18. It says, and if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings be eaten at all on the third day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it. It shall be an abomination, and the soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity. So if a man made a vow and he made his offering, it was good up until the third day. You could not eat or partake of it after that third day. Verse 19, it says, and the flesh that toucheth any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burnt with fire. And as for the flesh, all that be clean shall eat thereof. So in essence, what this is acknowledging is, and if we go, let's hold this, because I should have went here first. We made mention regarding the Passover, right? Exodus 12. Now let's drop down, and we're going to read 43, and then we're going to read on down. So Exodus 12:43. And Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So when we're talking about ordinances, it's about instructions. It's about how to conduct and take care of this particular ceremony. There's orders and how it's supposed to be done. Instructions, if you will. A stranger was not allowed to eat. So no other nation or foreign nation, strangers were to partake in the Passover with us. Okay, that's coming straight out of the Exodus. It says, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Verse 44, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. So remember that there was still servitudes that was happening within the land, within the nation of Israel. Deuteronomy, I believe, is 21, tells you about a man buying a Hebrew servant. You got the law of Jubilees in Leviticus, I believe it's in 25. You got Leviticus, still in Leviticus 25, will tell you if you have a brother that's a servant and the rules that apply regarding that. So if there was an instance where you had a man that was bought for money and he was not to partake in eating of the Passover until he was circumcised. Okay. So let's be clear about this as well, because when we get back over to, let me see if I can open up another tab and go back to the law in Leviticus 7, because this is the difference. Let me see. Well, no, it's not sharing. Okay. Well, let's hold verse 44. Okay. We'll go back to Leviticus 10, because this is important to understand. One thing for sure, two things for certain. Let's say, for instance, if a brother is not circumcised and it's Passover time, the only thing that he cannot partake in is the eating of the lamb. The offering that is burnt with fire, so forth and so on. The Lord said you can't partake in that. However, you are still required to follow the rest of the ordinances regarding the leavening being removed from the home, regarding you partaking in unleavened bread for 7 days. All those ordinances still apply, right? And that's why the Lord also gave notice regarding having a second Passover for those that were unclean in Numbers, the 9th chapter. The Lord is fair. He always gives opportunity for makeup. And again, this isn't to, shame, condemn, or trip on anybody. Oh, you unclean. You can't come to the Passover. The issue is eating and partaking of the lamb within itself. So that first night of the Passover, when the lamb is killed and we eating and everything else, the individual could not attend that because he couldn't partake in the eating of the flesh of the lamb, right? But he's still responsible for keeping the rest of the ordinances. So let's look at this. Leviticus 7. 19 one more time. It says, and the flesh that touches any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burnt with fire. And as for the flesh, all that be clean shall eat thereof. So going back to, the beginning of the law in Deuteronomy 10, it said that we're supposed to be putting a difference between holy and unholy, clean and unclean. We've seen in Ezekiel 44 that the defilement was regarding one who was uncircumcised in heart and in the flesh. So when we're talking about matters of uncleanness, being uncircumcised will be considered that, right? And an individual that was uncircumcised or unclean could not eat of the Passover. Verse 20, but the soul that eateth of the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings that pertaineth unto Yahweh, having his uncleanness upon him, even that soul shall be cut off from his people. So even when you looking at the element in the spirit, even Yahweh Shai being called the Prince of Peace, right? As he still is the unblemished lamb that, is a symbolic nature of the land as we partake in it. It's the same, balance of understanding, right? So you can't partake in the eating of the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings that pertain to Yahweh, having his uncleanness upon him, even that soul shall be cut off from his people. Verse 21, moreover, the soul that shall touch any unclean thing, as the uncleanness of man or any unclean beast or any abominable unclean thing, and eat the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which pertaineth unto Yahweh, even that soul shall be cut off from his people. So this was a serious matter in the eyes of the Most High. When he's saying, if you partake in this and you unclean, it will not be accepted, and the Lord will cut you off according to the law, right? Now, let's get back over here. We'll read it one more time. Verse 43, and Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. So we're talking about the eating of the Passover. The lamb was considered the major portion of the Passover, right? But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof. So the man's servant was speaking about a Hebrew servant or another fellow Israelite who may have fallen and, didn't, wasn't circumcised and whatnot. If he was within your household, he had to be under the bond of the covenant right along with the rest of the family. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. So this was also an ordinance. There was no taking out leftovers. You could not break a bone of the Passover, the lamb sacrifice. You could not break a bone to get it on the grill, to break it off while because you want a piece. So cut me off the leg. You could not do that. It had to be whole. And once it's done, you could not take it out. All right. Verse 47, all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Remember, this is one of the major feasts according to Deuteronomy 16:16. All of Israel was to return back to the land, foreshadowing us being scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and even post our Exodus, where our people was still dwelling in various lands. We were all supposed to come back to Israel to keep it. So the Lord said, if we're people are getting born in different lands, just like now, people getting born in different lands. Let's say, for instance, if we're having a Passover, you got brothers coming from Ghana, you got brothers that coming from the Caribbean, people coming from different states, and you're coming to keep the Passover. But hey, guess what? When we was raised in Jamaica, a lot of brothers a lot of brothers don't get circumcised. This is an example, right? If brother was to come to the Passover, you had to let it be known. You come to the Passover, you got to be circumcised, right? And then you can come keep it. No harm, no foul. We don't hate you. We ain't despising. We ain't calling you wicked. But you've got to be under the ordinances in order to partake in the whole aspect of the Passover. The eating and the partaking, the Lord said you got to be circumcised. It says, let them be circumcised, then you can come keep it. and he shall be as one that's born in the land. Then you'll be molded and grafted back in as one that's under the covenant, as the rest. Okay, so uh, now continuing on, it says, "And he shall be as one that's born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth." So we all had one law that was either you homeborn or the stranger that sojourns amongst us. There's one law that we may maintain. Okay. Now let's jump over to Romans, the fourth chapter. Romans 4, and let's start at verse 10. It says, "How was it then reckoned when he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision or slaki, but in uncircumcision." Uh, let's jump up here. I'm gonna start it earlier. Because obviously Christians and even Israelites will run and say, "Hey, you know what? Was it about faith? Was it Abraham justified by his works? Or let's not push the issue on this." Okay, well, hold on. Romans 4:1 says, "What shall we say then that Abraham, our father, as pertaining to the flesh, hath found? For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof to glory, but not before the Most High." So Abraham could not glory within himself. It said that even though if he was justified by his works, because the scriptures tell us in Genesis 26:5 that Abraham kept the commandments of the Most High, he established a righteous walk with the Lord, where the Most High selected him to be a father of many nations, meaning the nation of Israel and the sub-tribes within those families. He said he said if he was justified by his works, he could glory, but not before the Most High. He couldn't glory in anything until the Most High selected him. Right now, it says, "For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed the Most High, and it was counted unto him for righteousness." So this is where the Christians get it twisted, where they saying, "Hey, all I got to do is believe, and that's my righteousness. Y'all keep talking about them laws and all that other stuff, and we ain't got to do all that. All I got to do is believe." Well, hey, didn't James say faith without works is dead? Abraham still went forward with the work. At 100 years old, got circumcised. So brothers that's 15, 18, 22, 44 years old saying, "Hey, I'm too old, man. I can't go through that." Tell that to Abraham. You understand what I'm saying? Tell that to the brothers that got circumcised by Caleb and Joshua after coming out of the wilderness of Sinai. To get back put back in under the covenant. We'll get that in a minute. Now it says, what saved the scripture? Abraham believed the Most High, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Part of his belief was doing what the Most High required and asked of him to do. It wasn't just, "Lord, I believe." Well, the Lord gonna say, "Well, show me. I know the wicked hearts and the minds of my people." Christ even told us in Mark the 7th chapter, "My people, honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." And he was quoting from Isaiah. Full well, you reject the commandments of the Most High to establish your own righteousness and all that good stuff, right? And it was counted unto him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is the reward, not reckoned of grace, but of debt. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. Yes, we definitely are justified through our faith, because without Yahweh Shai, we wouldn't have the opportunity to get right. See, grace is unwarranted favor. It's undeserving, but we still receive it. What do we get that grace for? In order to pay off the debt. Pay off, like for instance, utilizing, you hear these analogies all the time regarding debt. You owe your car note, your insurance, your phone bill, whatever the case may be. And you don't have the money to pay that bill on time. but you have an opportunity to call and make a payment plan. You're asking for an extension. That's what you call a grace period. Does that absolve you of the debt? No, you still have to pay it, but you're given opportunity to work towards paying off the debt. So it says, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. So if you believe and you understand and you say, hey, I've got a chance to make it and do things right, you're obligated now to do those things and move within the realms of grace to do things right now. You understand? Verse 7. We'll drop down and read verse 7. It says, saying, well, let's move on. Even as David also described the blessedness of the man unto whom the Most High imputeth righteousness without works, saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Yes, this is true, because why? When you're looking at the aspects of the works of the circumcision, we needed to have it done on the 8th day. If you didn't have your circumcision done on the 8th day, it wasn't being accepted by the Pharisees at the time. It wasn't being accepted by the priests at the time. If you got it done later, because they're saying, hey, you didn't do enough after the manner of Moses. We'll get that in a minute in Acts 15. This is where the grace of Yahweh Shai comes into play. This is where the mercy of the Most High comes into play. This is where the justification of us exercising our belief by saying, hey, you know what? I know I didn't get circumcised on the 8th day, but I believe that the Most High's grace and mercies through the blood of his son is still going to cover my iniquities and my sins. And I'm getting my circumcision done so I can get back on right and get back on track, because I believe I'll still be accepted. I believe through faith that I'm still going to be able to, serve the Most High and be a part of the covenant. That's what it is. Not just, oh, I believe and I love the Lord. Hallelujah. I don't need to do nothing. No, you now have to start doing the work. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? So who gets to partake in this? Who is being allowed to have the blessings of the Lord, whereas iniquities are forgiven? Is it only the circumcision? At the time, these were the ones that were, raised in the temple, who was attending the Shabbat every week, going to all the holy days, wearing their fringes and the whole nine. Now, mind you, there was still a contingency of unbelieving, faithless Israelites who had no idea who they were, called Gentiles, barbarians, Scythians, didn't know, didn't understand. And now through the grace and mercies of the Most High and the teachings of Paul and the apostles, we're being told, you are the chosen people of God. Same way you're getting it being taught to now, here in our bondage and our captivities, wherever you dwell in. If you're in the Americas, where you're in the Caribbean, where you're in Europe, and now you get this knowledge and you're saying, oh, that's me. I didn't know I was an Israelite. I didn't know I was supposed to not be eating pork. I didn't know I was supposed to grow my beard. I didn't know I was supposed to, dress modestly. I didn't understand the manners and the laws of uncleanness and cleanness. I didn't know, who my enemies are, so forth and so on. And now you're learning these things, same way the Gentiles were before. But guess what? You had some individuals who was like, hey, we've been over here living right all our lives. How are they coming in and being co-heirs and equals with us? We've been loyal to the covenant. They haven't. We're not accepting that. That's part of what the dynamic was going on in the New Testament. So it says, come this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also. For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. So yeah, his faith was going to be reckoned based upon his righteousness, his works, the law. Even Leviticus 25:55 tells us that our righteousness is the law. And if Abraham in the Genesis 26:5 says that he kept the commandments of the Most High, this is even after he received his circumcision. This is even before the laws of Moses was established. Matter of fact, let's get it real quick. I'm quoting, but I want to make sure everybody sees. So See, good thing I did go here. I said Leviticus 25:55. I was wrong with that. It's Deuteronomy, I believe it's Deuteronomy 6 and 25. Yes. Deuteronomy 6:25, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our power as he hath commanded us. So we don't have to self-define what righteousness is. Or let me make sure I open up the door for the old lady. Not saying don't do that, brothers. You can still be honorable and take care of your elders as you should, right? But that doesn't define you as being righteous, because I'm a vegan, because I ain't ate meat in 15 years. Does that make me righteous, man? Because I wear my hair natural, sisters. That don't make you righteous. You dig what I'm saying? Like the righteousness is described as keeping the commandments of the Lord. Period. Nothing hard, nothing wild to figure it out. The Lord said, if your righteousness is you keeping these laws. Genesis 26:5. This is pre-Moses, right? Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. What did he do? He created blessings. You understand? Now, let's go back. Let's go back. Because remember, I'm just meditating on that Romans 4, because it says, are the blessings coming to the circumcision only or the uncircumcision? Now, when we see what we're seeing, this is part of those blessings. It says, we'll read verse 2 down. And Yahweh appeared unto him and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries. So remember, the children of Israel were as the sands of the sea. And this is the blessings being passed down to Isaac via his father Abraham. Why? Because his father laid down a righteous example, a righteous track record with the Most High. And he was told that his covenant was going to be generational, and it was going to be passed down to his seed. So his son Isaac now is receiving his covenant, and the Lord is giving him understanding on what does that encompass. Your father was good with me. I'm going to be good to you too. Verse 4 one more time. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. So yeah, the children of Israel as the sands of the sea, representative the stars of heaven. Even with Revelation 12:3, it tells you about us being like the stars, all of that good stuff. And continuing, it says, and will give unto thee, give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. This is through the children of Israel. All the nations are going to be blessed. Why? Because we're going to be scattered throughout all the nations. This is going to represent where all the children of Israel are going to be placed at. And not only that, we're still eventually going to be lights unto the Gentiles, and they're not going to be blessed until it comes through the children of Israel. Why? Verse 5, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So that's why, going back to Romans, the 4th chapter, the question being asked in verse 9. Salaki, 1 second. All right, so getting back, the question being asked, cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? But we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. So what was it only? Was it just because he had faith, or did Abraham actually commit works of righteousness? Yes, he did, right? He faithfully exercised and showed him keeping the righteousness of the Most High, which was the laws. Now, verse 10, it says, how was it reckoned when he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision or but in circumcision. So the question is, well, when was his blessings came? Was it after he got circumcised, or was it while he was uncircumcised? Was it not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision? Like now the drawing of confusion is, well, how was it understood? Like, are the blessings on, did he receive it after he got circumcised? So now the question remains, well, if I get circumcised now, am I under the blessings, or can I get it while I'm uncircumcised? Verse 11. Excuse me. It says, and he received a sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith, which he had yet been uncircumcised. So remember, the Most High said this is a token betwixt me and you. He received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith, which he had yet being circumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe. So the token was understood before he got circumcised. The Most High gave him the instruction. He told him, after you do this, this is what's going to happen, right? But he has already been selected to be the elect and the chosen of the Lord, and through his seed and bloodline would come forth a great mighty nation known as the nation of Israel, that he might be the father of all them that believe, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also. So he said, even those that believe, even if they wasn't circumcised as of yet, they will still be part of the blessings, or have the opportunity to fall within that righteousness and have their sins forgiven, so forth and so on, right? And to develop a bond within the covenant. Verse 12. It says, and the father of circumcision to them who are not of that circumcision only, but who also walk in the steps of that faith of our father Abraham, which he had being yet uncircumcised. So remember, faithfully, Abraham was told, depart from Ur of Chaldees, right? The Lord told him leave. He took his armies, took his wife. Then he went and had to rescue Lot from out of Sodom and Gomorrah. So he faithfully followed the Most High in every aspect, never questioned, all the way up until the point where it came down to the blessings of his sons. Was even challenged about, sacrificing Isaac, all the way to the brink of how obedient is he going to be. So it didn't just come by belief, just didn't come by, a mere thought. Abraham exercised and he worked through his belief in finding that it was worthy of the Most High to say, yeah, this is a faithful cat, man. He goes to the ends of the earth. He was ready to give it all up for me. And that, the Lord said, the blessing will come. That's why he said he didn't even get the blessing yet while he was uncircumcised. And once that was understood, the Most High said, okay, I got to make a covenant with you. I got to make a bond with you. And it's going to be done this way, through circumcision and through the blood. This is how we're going to make an everlasting agreement between us. Verse 12, one more time. And the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only, but who also walk in the steps of that faith of our father Abraham, which he had been yet uncircumcised. Right? Verse 13. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. So it didn't come with understanding the law at first. Why? Because Abraham was keeping the commandments before Moses. He was already accustomed to wanting to do righteousness. See, the Christians and our people, they want to have their cake and eat it too. You don't want to commit yourselves to true righteousness. You want everything that comes along with it. You want the kingdom. You want everlasting life. You want to be hanging with the heathens. You want to do everything, but you don't want to do it the right way. It says, for his promise that he should be heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law. So it didn't come via the ceremonial law, sacrificial law, so forth and so on, but through the righteousness of faith. In his righteousness, the keeping of the law was done faithfully. Being obedient to the Most High was done faithfully. So before anything had to be written on tablets, before he had to commit himself to being circumcised, he was already rolling in that direction. So that's why it's even understood when a brother is not circumcised at this time, but he still, he wants to keep the law, he's doing everything. You still have opportunity. You're still within Israel. You're still within the bonds of the laws and following out the righteousness, but there's still abounding that needs to be done in order to solidify your covenantal agreement with the Most High. Not with any particular camp, any brother, whatever the case may be, but with the Most High is where the covenant of agreement needs to be sealed. So faithfully, you can be moving without, that particular ordinance and doing everything up until, but that does not negate the fact that if a brother has the opportunity and can get circumcised, he needs to do so to seal the covenant or bond with the Most High. Let's look at First Maccabees 2. Now, matter of fact, no, it's not. I was going to go. On the faithful man. Let's go to Judges. I think this is Judges. What's that? Judges 13. No. Yo, Joshua. I'm saying Judges. When that came from. Joshua 5. All right. This is what I would say. Even post time in brothers' latter ages, this is still a covenant that was understood to be continued in. All right. So Joshua 5:1, it says, and it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that Yahweh had dried up the waters of Jordan before the children of Israel until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was their spirit in them anymore because of the children of Israel. So the fame of the glory of the Most High spread through the kingdom of the Amorites. They were shook up. The Canaanites shook up at the majesty and the power of the Most High and how it was imparted to the children of Israel. They said, man, their hearts melted. They had no spirit anymore to drive up or come against the children of Israel. As they say in the streets, they was turned down. All right. Didn't want no parts of the children of Israel. And during that time, what did Joshua do in order to maintain that covenant agreement with the Most High? Verse 2. And that time, Yahweh said unto Joshua, make these sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. It wasn't you cutting off more skin. No. Remember, we're in the wilderness 40 years, coming out of Egypt, relearning all of these things. The whole generation, 3-4 generations have passed. Remember, Moses said that the only ones that came up out of it, that were still remained were Joshua and Caleb and the children of that first generation that left out of Egypt. Everyone else had passed away, but there was still a contingency because of our dwellings in Egypt that we did not learn to keep the covenant of circumcision. So now that first generation that wasn't circumcised, if anyone wasn't circumcised, they had to get circumcised. Now it was about going back into following after the commandments again. Verse 3, and Joshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. You see that? Now verse 5. Now all the people that came out of out were circumcised. But all that people were born in the wilderness by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. So our people was not keeping the laws of the covenant as we were in our wilderness in Egypt. I mean, coming out of Egypt, right? For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of Yahweh, unto whom Yahweh sware that he would not show them the land which the Most High Yahweh sware unto their fathers, that he would give us, a land that flowed with milk and honey. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. So not only are we seeing all the men aged, ready for war, they had to be circumcised. The children had to get circumcised. It was getting back into keeping of the law. And you can say, well, you ain't keeping it in Jerusalem. You ain't doing all the things right. We've been keeping Passover outside of Jerusalem if we pay attention, continuing on. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of this place is called Gilgal unto this day. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. The plains of Jericho and Gilgal is not Jerusalem. So you said, well, I was at one time. Well, the scriptures tell us that we would, in was it Deuteronomy 30? And I want to say that, yeah. Now, 30 and 10, that says, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto Yahweh thy power with all thine heart and with all thy soul, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldst say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. So it says, it's the commandments. There should nothing be binding you or keeping you from being able to keep it wherever you are. It said you ain't got to go to heaven and get the laws and saying who's going to bring it to me, who's going to bring it back down to us. It's not that complicated. Look at this, verse 13. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldst say, who shall go over the sea for us? Meaning, do I need to go all the way to Jerusalem? Do I got to travel overseas to keep the commandments right? It said that there's no boundaries that you're not going to be able to keep the commandments wherever we're at. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldst say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very nigh to thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. So if it's in your mouth, it's in your mind, you can still do it, right? The Most High even told us that even during the time of in Baruch, it said that our that we're going to remember ourselves in our captivities, and there we're going to keep the ceremonial law. Let's get that real quick. Baruch 2. Oops. Where are we at? Verse, let's read 29 down. It says, if you will not hear my voice, surely this great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am the Lord their God. For I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name. Well, how do we praise the Lord? We keep these ceremonial laws. That's how we praise the Most High, right? And think upon my name. So in the land of our captivity, we still will keep the ceremonial laws. We'll still keep the ordinances. There's no sea that's too far to say, well, you got to go over there to get it and bring it back over here. Do I got to go over there to get? It's okay. That's what Yahweh Shai came for. right? For us to be able to still maintain the ordinances in our captivities through the grace, mercy, and faith of Yahweh Shai and the Most High. Okay. Um, Now let's get back over here. So let's read Second Mac. Let me get Second Maccabees real quick. Now this is how serious it was, and many of y'all know this. During the time of the Maccabees and the Hellenization of our people declined to circumcise under the laws and the intimidation of the Greeks. But look how serious it was, though. Second Maccabees 6, verse 10. For there were two women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes handing at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall. So sisters were running around, circumcising their children, keeping them in the bond of the covenant, and being that was a violation of the laws of Greece, under the captivity of the so-called white man, who now, is living under the same type of mentality, saying, oh, you're circumcising, that's mutilation, you shouldn't do that, you gotta, it's like kicking teeth, dealing with these doctors and these hospitals now to tell them that you want to circumcise it. Well, it's not covered under the insurance. You're going to have to pay out of pocket. Oh, you're going to have to do it before you leave the hospital. Oh, you can't reschedule it as the 8th day. We're going to have to do that as a surgery. That's going to be a whole nother procedure. And I don't have time to give us hell for trying to keep the laws and the commandments. You sure you want to do that? I mean, it's not really necessary. Actually, it's more cleaner if you, what? No, it's not. You understand? These are the things that's going on with the difficulties in trying to maintain the covenant of the circumcision with our male children in today's times. Back then, they was flat out just killing the babies. Cold business, right? So this is why it's important to say, in honor of, bare minimum, in honor of the babies that was getting killed for maintaining the covenant. You can't sit back and be like, hey, I'm glad I ain't got to do that no more. Man, the babies was dying over this. It must have been important. Mothers was sacrificing and having their kids, risking the death of themselves and their children to maintain the laws of the Most High. It must have been important. Man, let me get into that. Let me make sure that I'm doing everything I can to honor that. Even Yahweh Shai was done. Luke 2. And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Yahweh Shai, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb. And when the days of her purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. So, if we call ourselves Christ-like, we want to be like Christ, the whole nine, like, hey, follow along with what Mashiach did. He kept the law. He was doing it. Well, he fulfilled the law. He said, not one jot nor one tittle is going to pass from the law till all be fulfilled. All the prophecies have not been fulfilled. Heaven and earth still exist. You can stop on the ground. You can look outside. If it's a sunny day today, the moon comes out at night. The ordinances are still in effect. The children of Israel are still here. The laws have not been done away with. We've done numerous lessons about that. Let's get to this quick little controversy regarding what we just were speaking about, because this is where some of the issues come into play. And I'm gonna try to make it quick. Typically we don't want to go too long with these lessons. However, you still want to be thorough with understanding. All right. So Acts 15:1. Now it says, and certain men came down from Judea, taught the brethren, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. So this is where we're seeing that matters and the issues came up. It was based around teachings that were being taught, saying, if you were not circumcised after the manner of Moses, there is no saving you. You don't have salvation. You cannot be within the fold of the elect. You're not going to make it. So what was the problem with that? We just got to see what the manner of Moses was. You got to be circumcised on the 8th day. You got to go through the purification for the women, all of that, right? Now, this is a heavy doctrine that was going on. And they were being told, if you ain't doing it this way, you ain't going to get it. Now, part of that is, Yahweh Shai even prophesied that was going to happen. Look at Luke 9. And let's get right to the point. 9:22. It says, saying, the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes and be slain and be raised the third day. And he said to them, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Right? So one thing that Yahweh said is many things is going to be suffered. Rejection from the elders and the chief priests and scribes was going to be part of the persecution. Now got slain, he was raised the third day, that all happened. The issue remained even after his death, burial, and resurrection. Even after the priests, the scribes, they continued to reject Yahweh Shai. This is why you hear the controversy with Colossians 2:16 about let no man judge you for meat, drink, and observance of a Sabbath, a holy day, or new moon, and your meat and drink offerings and all that, because the chief priests and scribes, they were saying, hey, you still need to be bringing sacrifices to the temple. What are you talking about? Yahweh Shai with the sacrifice. You don't have to do that. Well, what are you talking about that you're not needing, to that you're, being moved in to the fold without being circumcised on the 8th day? What? No, we're not doing that. This is where the problems and the issues arose. Okay. Let's look at stay in Luke. Let's jump over 2 chapters. Luke, the 7th chapter. And let's read 20 down to 22. Because this was the glory that Yahweh Shai came with, and it was being rejected. 7 and verse 20. It says, when the men were come unto him, they said, John the Baptist have sent us unto thee, saying, art thou he that should come, or look we for another? And in the same hour he cured many of their infirmities and plagues and of evil spirits, and unto many that were blind he gave sight. Then Yahweh Shai answering said unto them, go your way and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how that the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised. To the poor the gospel is preached. Now, this is the type of understanding and healing and acknowledgement of cleansing, repentance, Paul and Barnabas was teaching. Now, there were other men, there were other Pharisees that were running around saying, the hell with what they're talking about. There's no salvation unless a man is circumcised after the manner of Moses. Right? Now, continuing on, it says, when therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, it said this wasn't a light matter. He said this was a big deal. No small dissension and disputation with them. They had a heavy disagreement with what was going on. They determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question. So they went to what was known as the Sanhedrin. This was the council of elders and the other apostles, and they brought the question. They were saying, well, look, we've been teaching through Yahweh Shai that grace and mercy comes through him, and it's okay if a brother wasn't circumcised on the 8th day. Let's say if a brother got circumcised on the 4th day, 3rd day. Many of us may not have haven't been born and circumcised after the manner of Moses, circumcised on the 8th day, and did everything to the letter of the law. However, Paul and Barnabas was saying, just like we got read earlier in Romans the 4th chapter, that the blessings came through the works, even though you were uncircumcised or wasn't circumcised on the correct day, what happened. they would still consider you uncircumcised because you didn't do it the right way. Although you could have been circumcised. You understand what I'm saying? Here in this bondage, like I said, in this bondage, in this captivity, the so-called white man and his biased laws and his effeminate doctors, oh, that's mutilation. You don't need to do that. I don't understand. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be Jewish? Like, what? And you got to go have a whole damn discussion with them. Like, mind your damn business. What are you worried about what I'm doing with my son? This is it. Oh, well, your insurance probably ain't going to come. Let me worry about it. If I got to pay out of pocket, I'm going to pay out of pocket. But I'm getting it done. And this is happening. Listen, and I'm not speaking from a point of not being sympathetic to the ears of brothers who may not be circumcised, saying, man, that's you circumcised. It's easy for you to say, I ain't get. Listen, I've known multiple brothers that got circumcised in their latter years. And they're still alive. Everything's fine. They made it out cool. And guess what? They've abounded in the Lord even greater. So don't trip about, well, I'm too old. No. Well, they ain't after the manner of Moses. All praise to the Most High for sending Yahushua to cover you in that. Remember, he says you're going to cover your sins, right? Now, Paul and Barnabas had to bring up this matter and this issue. Okay, I'm not going to break down the whole chapter 15. There's a lot to cover into this, but I just want to get the highlighted points. Okay, and it says, and being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles, and they caused great joy unto all brethren. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and the elders, and they declared all things that Yahweh had done with them. So Paul, Barnabas, they were out putting in major work, turning Israel back to the Most High, breaking them from their Gentile Hellenistic states, causing great joy within the brethren, right? Verse 5, it says, but there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. So here we go. Now you got some brothers who just wasn't satisfied. They was, quote unquote, hating a little bit, saying, no, they need to be circumcised and to command them to keep the law of Moses, right? So Paul and Barnabas was like, okay, yeah, we hear what you're saying. However, do you see the work? Do you see the glory? Do you see that they came in? You see that they believe now? One thing at a time. You know, how many of us, you came into the truth and you just dropped everything at a drop of a dime and was converted and, you know, started keeping the law 100% and no problem. Many of us cannot say that. The process of growth when it comes into this truth and learn living and applying the laws comes as a dispensation of faith, fear of the Most High, resonates within our spirit. All right. Now, continuing on, it says, and the apostles and elders came together to consider of this matter. So now the council of the elders is saying, well, that's a good point. Well, we need to figure this thing out. All praise to the Most High that we've got a influx of believers now that's moving in the faith and understanding. However, they need to be disciplined. They need to be brought under the guise of the law. So is it just enough that they just came in, or do they need to, be keeping these laws, right? So there's the dynamic. Verse 7, it says, and when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago the Most High made choice among us, that Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. So we're not talking about Gentiles, meaning all the other nations. We're talking about the Hellenized Jews who had gone astray. We've covered that a number of different times regarding that understanding. But for time's sake, I'm not going to go into that because the information is there and the breakdown is there. We're going to continue on. It says, that the Most High, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Spirit even as he did unto us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. So what happened first? The minds had to be purified. The minds had to be cleansed. The minds had to be focused and reprogrammed to start learning to live after the manner of righteousness. Let me just drop down and I'm gonna read. Oops, now it says I'm gonna read verse 17 down. It says that the residue of man might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith the Most High, who doeth all these things. Known unto the Most High are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to the Most High. So those that came from among the Gentiles, if they turn to the Most High, the sentence was, don't trouble them. Don't make their lives more difficult. Work with them, not against them. Okay. Verse 20, it says, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood. The main things that they were having issues with were idol worship, fornication, things strangled, and partaking in blood rituals, bloodletting, blood drinking, all this other stuff. These were the main things that Paul Barnabas was saying. These are the things they got the biggest problems with. And we were writing unto them, cut these things off. They were worshiping these other false deities, from Diana to Dionysus to, all of these Roman gods and Greek gods and the idols. And, they were heavy into fornication, all of the festivals that they were involved in Rome with the orgies of the bestiality and sodomy and all this other stuff. Like, these were things that was going on big time, right? And it says that they needed to be purged from those things first. You couldn't come in and say, well, I'm circumcised, but I still got idols in the crib. I'm still out here fornicating. I'm doing. It was like, nah, get them things in order first. Right. And if we remember and we think about our walk, we was doing all manners of abominations, unless you was born in this truth, doing all manners of abomination and wickedness and everything else, and had to learn to start cutting off our major sins first. Well, the first thing, you've seen testimonies to see brothers out on the streets, and even your own, you may have had been wearing crosses and onks and everything else. And what was the first thing you had to do? Get rid of that before you was even circumcised. You already knew, I got to get rid of this stuff. Fornication, you could have been a whoremonger. You could have been out there committing adultery, the whole nine, and having relationships with women that you was involved in, or men that you was involved in, with all kind of violent and unscrupulous behavior. And you might have said, I got to tell her, man, I'm cutting you off. I'm done. We can't be having this affair no more. And those things you got a grasp on right away. Those was at the top of the list, right? And then what ends up happening, verse 21, for Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in synagogues every Sabbath day. So after you start categorizing the things that you're learning to repent from, then as you continue going to class and logging online and getting your lessons done and learning more about the law and doing your own reading, now you're seeing how to continue your repentance and cut things off slowly but surely. Okay. So it says, that's why I said, for in old time in every city, them that preach him being read in synagogues every Sabbath day. So Moses and the laws was being read on every Sabbath day. Once they were being converted, they were being told, go to class, go to temple, go to the synagogues, and you start learning more about the laws and the commandments, and you start learning how to exercise yourself from your old ways. All right, that's the process. So even with being understood, let me get a couple. Ephesians 2. Let's read verse 9. We'll start at verse uh, 7. It says that in the ages to come, he might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness toward us through Hamashiach Yahushua. So speaking how the Most High is going to exercise his grace and kindness towards us, because without that, we'd all be finished. We'd all be finished. So we don't take advantage of that grace and kindness. We're supposed to operate in manners of repentance and righteousness to take care of the things that we missed out on. Verse 8, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of the Most High. So you don't squander that gift. This ain't a gift that you say, yeah, does it come with a receipt? Because if I don't like it, I'm going to take it back and get the money. If I don't like it, I'm going to exchange it for something else. You cannot do that, not with the grace of the Most High. This is a gift. When that grace and that unwarranted favor is blessed upon us, we have to do everything right to make that gift flourish in our possession. Verse 9, not of works, lest any man should boast. So we didn't have to do anything immediately to receive this grace outside of believe first, follow faithfully, and commit to righteousness. These are all things. Live, learning, and applying. That's all part of the process. All right. It says, for we are his workmanship, created in Hamashiach Yahushua unto good works, which the Most High have before ordained that we should walk in them. Good works. The good work. Hold on. Let's look at. He said he gave it to us beforehand. Good works not only comes through doctrine, but via the law. Look, Proverbs 4:2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. The things that are good, hold fast. Which part of being good is the law, the doctrine? That's the law. That's doing good. Okay. Now, if we go back to where we were, it says, for we are workmanship created in the Hamashiach Yahushua unto good works, which the Most High hath before ordained that we should walk therein. So he ordained what was good beforehand. And walking in them, that's part of doing the work of application, not just belief. Let's look at Ephesians 4 real quick. I'm looking up for time. Yeah. We're about to wrap it up in a minute. A couple more. Ephesians 4, verse 23. And actually, let's start at verse 22. It says that you put off concerning the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. So part of our transformation is dying to the world, our old ways, our old habits, our old thoughts, our old customs, our old ways, our old traditions. That's all old. If you was gang banging or whatever the case may be, man, that's over with, man. You're not baby low down no more. You're not tiny Knuckles from the hood no more. He's dead. Your conversations about you trying to pimp and pander women, that's dead. Sisters, you out here trying to trick, gaming and trick and seduce men, that's dead. When you were sparkles, twisting around on them poles and making it clap, that's dead. Your old conversations about how you used to scam and come up and rob your people and selling dope and, how you used to trick the scales and, selling it. Those conversations are over with. Unless you're using it as a testimony to show how far the Most High has taken you and you're using it to help inspire another person that's in that same field or same issue, you shouldn't be glorifying and talking about your old conversations like that. It's corrupt according to the deceitful lust. Verse 23. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind. See, that's when the transforming of the mind comes into play. The circumcision of the heart. That's where the transformation comes in. That's where the change comes in. And that you put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. So we learned about what righteousness is with the Most High. This is what it all boils down to. Once we commit ourselves and once we, learn and say, you know what, I'm going to fully submit to the Most High. We walk and we start living it. Colossians 3:10, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. So now we're knowing better. We're getting the knowledge, the renewing of new knowledge, information, right? After the image of him that created him. So now we become new creatures. So the old ways, not only spiritually, mentally, are you becoming new, but even physically, you're going to have a new change in your body when you get circumcised. If you're not done, if you haven't, committed yourself to that yet. But it's part of being cleansed. It's part of being within the law. It's part of being within this covenant. Okay. Um, let's go to let's go to Revelation 2. And we'll read verse 23. And it says, and I will kill her children with death, and all the churches shall know that I am he which searches the reins and hearts, and I will give unto every one of you according to your works. So the important thing we're seeing here is the need for repentance, right? And that the judgment of the Most High is going to come via the works that we're committing ourselves to. The Lord said he's gonna destroy it. He was making strong reference to the which church was this? Thyatira, who were following after the ways of Jezebel and allowing women preachers and committing themselves to idolatry and all manners of fornication and evil and all the extras, right? And the Lord said that judgment is going to happen if the church didn't change their ways and their works. And the Lord said he's going to search the reins and he's going to search the hearts. So first thing, of course, he's going to manage to search the mentality of an individual. So, we can't think that the Lord won't be fair and say, hey, you know what, if a brother ain't circumcised, he's doomed, he's in hell, whatever the case may be. The point of the matter is that you should be making every effort to get circumcised at some point in time in your walk, right? The main restriction is the maintaining of the Passover and eating of the Passover. You're still, again, responsible for keeping the other aspects of the ordinances of the law, the leavening and so forth and so on. But to get in covenant with the Most High, you got to complete the deal. 1 Chronicles 29:17. I know also my power, that thou triest the heart and hast pleasure in uprightness. As for me, in the uprightness of mine heart, I have willingly offered all these things, and now have I seen with joy thy people, which are present here, to offer willingly unto thee. So it's about the Lord trying the heart. He always has pleasure in uprightness, right? And willingly offering ourselves. You can't begrudgingly saying, damn, I got to get this done, man. Oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go through I don't want to have to pay. Look, it's going to be all right. But it's all about how willingly you are, or how willingly you're ready to offer yourself as a sacrifice to the Lord. That comes with the deal, man. Romans 12. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Now, I'm going to stop there. Actually, let me read one more in Philippians. And I'm going to read one down. Now it says, finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you. To me, indeed, is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the concision. For we are the circumcision, which the Most High in the spirit and rejoice in Hamashiach Yahushai and have no confidence in the flesh. So again, it's not about because I'm circumcised and another brother isn't, that I'm greater than or better than another brother. It's my job to still instruct the brother and say, hey, get within this covenant agreement, man, with the Most High as well. We still maintain our bond as being Israelites, so forth and so on, but we still have to maintain this order and the ordinances. Verse 4 says, though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he hath whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised the eighth day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law of Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. So Paul had to lay it down. He said, look, if we want to talk about the law, I did it all right. I did it everything. But guess what? He also has some matters of error where we're seeing here, where he persecuted the church, touching righteousness, which is the law, blameless. Paul was a bounty hunter, man. He was out there killing our people. Anybody that was prophesying and teaching in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua getting locked up. He was there, witnessed Stephen get stoned to death, didn't intercede, So with all the things that he did right, he still had things he needed to repent for and to acknowledge and to correct. So it says, but what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Hamashiach. Yea, doubtless. And I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Hamashiach Yahushua, my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Hamashiach, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Hamashiach, the righteousness which is of the Most High by faith. So that's all true. And Paul was acknowledging, he said, hey, I had it all, and I lost it all for Christ. And he said, but I'd rather have it that way than to be operating under a manner of righteousness that wasn't accepting of Christ as well. So Revelation 14:12 says, here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua. So that's why we do both. That's why if you wasn't circumcised on the eighth day, no harm, no foul. It'll be okay. But does that negate the fact that I still should be and need to go after the covenant and, make my amends with the Most High? Absolutely. I still need to do that. I still need to commit myself to that, right? Through the faith of Yahushua, that those commandments are there. There's no getting around it. They're not going anywhere. Yahushua said he's not a man that he should lie. We've read the scripture where he says that he changes not, So with that, I'm just going to close out there. There's much more that could be touched on the subject, but hopefully through the Spirit, the edification was clear regarding circumcision, the law, the covenant, and as it pertains to the Passover, because as we're leading up to the Passover, this is something that needs to be considered. If you're not circumcised, that is an ordinance, that's a law, that's a covenant, and still should be abided by. All right. So with that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahushua.